Washington is probably known best for its apples and other tree fruit. And while the state this year is forecasting a hefty 142 million standard 40-pound box harvest of fresh apples, there's still growing concern over ongoing drought and longer and hotter summers. Adding in labor concerns with the Trump administration's aggressive immigration crackdown, as well as anxiety over the administration's controversial tariffs, optimism still remains high despite the uncertainty that these situations is creating. I spoke with John Devaney, president of the Washington State Tree Fruit Association, about the forecasted success of this year's crop, as well as concerns for the future. What is making this? What's driving this? Why does this look so good for this year?
We had really consistent weather this year, not too hot, not too cold. Our crops can be significantly affected by springtime weather. When those bees are out working on flowers, if it's too wet or too cold, that can really significantly affect the size of our crop. There was some concern because it's been very dry this year and we had a statewide drought declaration. But because our irrigation districts, and of course, most of our apple orchards are irrigated on irrigation districts, those districts were able to manage their water so that even though their overall supplies in some basins were curtailed, growers had the water that they needed to preserve permanent crops.
I know that there's been some concern with those who obviously help harvest our fruit in central Washington. Is there a big concern over the amount of labor available this year?
Yeah, there is a significant amount of concern. We've had a 20-year trend of a declining labor force. A lot of folks haven't realized that even though there had been for several years a real serious crisis of managing crossings at the border, most of the people crossing the border were not the folks from rural Mexico coming north looking for agricultural work that it might have been 30 years ago or more. There was a lot of folks from other places around the world who just happened to be trying to cross at the US-Mexico border. So we've actually seen a long-term decline in the number of people from Mexico living undocumented, in the US. And so we've seen that decline of that new source of labor. Even as people age out of work and retire or move home to their home country after several years working. So we've seen a shrinking supply of available labor.
Tariffs. What effects does your industry, is there any worry or concern over these?
Yeah, there's a lot of concern just because of uncertainty. Where tree fruit is apples in particular are a permanent crop. You plant them hoping to be harvesting them for 20 years or more, and so you can't easily dial up or dial back your production if demand changes or because of trade circumstances. We export annually about 30% of our crop overseas to foreign markets.